it's really helpful, I think, to follow like a 90-day quarterly plan approach to life. The next 90 days, I'm going to be focused on closing this big deal. And that might mean I'm not going to exercise as much. I'm not going to stop it completely, but that phase of my life or that interest in my life is going to get a little less attention.
Hello Sales Nation, I am Will Barron, host of the Salesman Podcast, and welcome to today's episode. My guest Craig Ballantyne joins me on today's show, and we're talking about success, productivity, and how to create the perfect sales day. You can find out more about Craig over at earlytorise.com. His book, The Perfect Day Formula, is available on Amazon. Everything that we talk about is linked to in the show notes over at salesman.red. And with all that said, let's jump into today's episode. Hey Craig, and welcome to the Salesman Podcast.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. We are going to talk about a concept today, and I love these episodes that has a wider application than just sales, even though it's going to be applicable for that. And hopefully we're going to make a real impact on the listeners here and myself. I'm going to get a lot of this episode. I can feel that one in my gut as I speak to you pre-recording.
Well, I hope so. I hope I can really get you dialed in and help you maybe even retire at 31 instead of 33.
Good man. I want to start with a bigger question, and then we can pull it back into sales and pull it back into context to the audience in a little bit. But I think this is going to be a useful place to start. And what I want to ask you is, how much of both mine and perhaps yours before you got more into this and the audience time throughout the whole of their lives, how much time is spent just plodding along, just not really thinking, just going to work every day and coming home, making the tea? How much of their lives do you think that they spend doing that versus how much time do we spend actually really having those perfect, quote unquote, perfect days that we're going to talk about?
Oh, geez. Unfortunately, far too much is spent of those days being reactive. I think almost 80% or more of the people in America, where I spend most of my time, are really in those reactive days all day, every day. And there's few people that actually take the time to think and be proactive. But those that are, and I'm sure that many of the people listening to this and watching this video are those types of people who are willing to step outside of the box, to take the blue pill instead of the red pill or whatever they took in the Matrix to get out of that and to break away from that thinking so that they have time to actually be proactive and plan out their lives. And those are the people that just accelerate down the road of life. And so that's what I want to be able to share with people today. I just am so frustrated to see people spinning their wheels, working really hard on things. And that's actually one of the, negativities of negative sides of productivity, is that some people get really good at things, really efficient, but they're doing the wrong things. And it doesn't matter how good you get at doing the wrong things, that's only going to take you down the wrong track. So we can really get people dialed in on the right things today.
Definitely. This reminds me of something that is slightly out of context with sales, but me and my middle brother play this computer game called Age of Empires. We've played it for about 10 years now. And I turned to him the other day after playing it with him, and he's in St. Helens, I'm over in Leeds. There's a bit of distance there, and it's just an opportunity for us to chat and play a game rather than a telephone call. So there is use to it from that perspective. But I turned to him the other day and just said to him, look, imagine if we, even on keeping it unproductive, imagine if we would have learned to play and put the hours in to play chess rather than Age of Empires, a stupid game that no one cares about anymore because it's a decade old. If we would be seriously good at a game that there's all kinds of clubs that you could join, that you're mixing with potentially, I don't know if there's a stereotype or true, but perhaps in super intelligent people that may be more drawn to a game like that. And there's an opportunity to make friends and all this kind of thing. And he just looked at me and was like, yeah, that makes sense. And then we played another game of Age of Empires. So I'm not immune to anything that we're going to talk about today.
I think there's also a time and place for, family and experiences and stuff like that. But if somebody's day always consisted of that, then it probably wouldn't be the best use of their time.
And why are our days filled with this just plodding along? I don't want to use the term blindly because you can very easily have a really nice family. You can, have a modest to good living and lifestyle by not by not doing some of the things we're going to talk about today, why is it that most people just following this path? Is this the natural state for a human being to just plod along?
Yeah, I think there's definitely something that, human nature, we want to take the easy way out. And I'm not saying that we're being, doing the wrong things. I'm not criticizing somebody's choices, but, you know, when you have all these responsibilities, you want to have a great family, you want to have a decent, health and fitness, and you want to keep up appearances, and you want to also do well at work. There's a lot of competing demands, and so, well, what's the easiest one to let slide? Well, I'll just go in and I'll do as well as I need to do at work. I'll do as many contacts as my boss says to make, but I won't go above and beyond because right now I'm trying to get this girl to say yes to, getting married to me. Or right now, I've got a 2-year-old kid and I've got to put all my energy in there. I'm trying to have one last crack at, my football career or something like that. And so I want to just, put my energy into that. And so again, I'll just do the minimum at work that allows me to get ahead.
And is that key to all of this? And is this the whole point of life? We're going way deeper now than what I was expecting to in our conversation about sales productivity. But is the whole point of this that you can only have one priority? You should only have one priority, and it's okay for it not to be to close more deals for I guess for the people listening, but for short amount of time, perhaps it's okay to switch priorities from work to business to home.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely going to go through these little phases, these little sprints in life, and it's really helpful, I think, to follow like a 90-day quarterly plan approach to life. The 90 days, I'm going to be focused on closing this big deal, and that might mean I'm not going to exercise as much. I'm not going to stop it completely, but that phase of my life or that interest in my life is going to get a little less attention. Or, we just had our first child and he's 3 months old. And so I have to put all my energy into that. And that means that I'm going to not put in the extra half an hour at work for the next 3 months just while we get up to speed and up to schedule. But I'm still going to do a good job. And so people have to make sure that they understand their number one priority and opportunity in life and then really focus on it. And then when it's time to get back to the work and to the sales that we really want to focus on, listening to this show, then we're able to sit down, think, formulate a plan, take action on it, follow the structure, have success, and then earn the freedom that we want to have in our life. And so my system is really about getting the most out of every area in life by being proactive and planning ahead. And when you do that, which most people don't do, that will allow you to really succeed in multiple areas of life, not just in one at a time.
First step of the system then, planning. What do we do? Again, let's just get super practical in all of this. What does a B2B millennial salesperson listening to this do as the first step of their plan? Is it to put together the 90-day or quarterly plan, or is it, and I think this is the leading question, or is it to look vast distances into the future and meditate on who they want to become and what they want to achieve, and then work backwards from this 20-year, retirement on a beach in a boat with a beautiful wife in a bikini plan?
Well, we don't need to go that far into the future. What I do recommend is that people do have a very clear and concise vision for where they're going to end up in 3 years from now. So imagine you have accomplished everything that you want in 3 years. You go down and you write that down into the vision of your life. And it is very important for you to be very, very specific and very personal. I wrote an entire chapter in the book about it. You've read it. You've seen how specific I am in that. I know what our family routine is. I know my work hours. I know what street I'm living on. I know exactly where I want to be. And the reason why I recommend that people do this is because it actually worked for me. So I had my first business coaching call in 2006 with my first business coach. And he said to me, Craig, what do you want your business to look like in 5 years from now? And at the time, I was selling online fitness information on, workout DVDs and workout videos and books. And I said, I want to have a business like earlytorise.com, which is a website I had been following for several years. And I loved it because it not only helped people improve their health, but also their wealth and their wisdom and just really live a full life. And then I started taking action. I started coaching people. I started becoming a better writer. And over time, I started meeting people and connecting and networking and getting out of my comfort zone and my introverted nature. And I met all these people and I shared with them my goal, my vision. And then one day, the owner of Early to Rise, and he's looking to sell it. Do you want to buy it still? And I said, yes. And it was 5 years, 3 months, and 17 days after I had made that declaration that I actually bought the business of my dreams. And so the lesson here is when you know exactly where you want to get to in life, when you have that destination, I'm going to get out of the middle of the screen here for 1 second, have that destination, this is where I want to get to, then you have a very clear path. And you know that if someone comes along with an opportunity that takes you way off that path, you know you're smart enough to say, no, I can't do that because this is my vision, this is my destination, and I'm not going to take that road. I'm going to stay on this straight line to success. And so when you have that in place, Will, you can go and achieve what you want, and then you dial it back. You do what I call reverse goal setting, and you say, well, if I want to be there, what do I need to focus on right now? And then you come up with your number one priority, and this is really, really practical. And so you come up with, here's my number one problem in life or my number one opportunity in life, and you get up tomorrow morning before everybody else in your house, and you go down to your kitchen table and you work on that number one priority or opportunity for 15 minutes. Clear thinking, no distractions, and you do that every single day, and that compounds, and that's how you succeed in life.
I love it. I've talked about this on the show before, and this will build up to the next question I'm going to ask of, I want to retire or semi-retire really at 33. So I've set this goal. I want to do that by having a bunch of properties. So there's X amount of properties that I want to have. I then work back from that of I need to buy so many properties per year. And to buy that, I need to get, say, well, from 50 to 100,000 downloads of the show a day will get me that. And we're up to between 10 and 20,000 downloads per show per day at the moment. So it's all leaning towards that. Now, that said, I agree with everything you're saying. I agree that you need to have a path. Otherwise, you're just running around in circles. You're not able to prioritize, as you alluded to then, of the very specific things that you want to achieve. And so you can give up some opportunities and feel happy that you've given them up because you've essentially said no and freed up time to do the important stuff. With that all said, Craig, do you believe and buy into the idea of the law of attraction?
In a way, I modified it. So in that story that I just told, I did attract the exact thing that I wanted to into my life, but I did so only by taking action. And so I actually came up with the phrase, law of action attraction. And so the law of action attraction means every day you go out and you do the things that take you closer to the goal. And you might not have your exact dream come to you after one action, but if you keep on taking action and doing the right things, you're going to get closer to those goals. And for me, because I achieved exactly what I wanted, and it was a combination of the action and the vision, that I believe other people can experience this exactly as I did using that system.
Because I think we're on similar wavelength here, but I'm going to dig a little bit deeper because this is important. Do you buy into the whole... I've not seen the film The Secret, but I've interviewed a couple of people that were on it. Do you buy into the whole vibration linking and when you want something, it sends vibrations into the universe and whatever source energy or whatever you want to describe it sends it back to you? Or did you believe that when you've got clear vision in your mind, it just aligns your focus and so that's why you achieve things?
Yeah, I'm a little more pragmatic, I suppose. I certainly haven't studied that other stuff, but I know that, listen, if I want to get something, I need to tell other people that I want to get it. I can't do it on my own. And this is coming from a very skeptical guy. When I watched The Secret, I was very skeptical of it. I'm very introverted by nature, and so going out and meeting people was difficult for me. But every time I did that, and every time I said to somebody like, hey, Will, I really want to, meet this person. If I tell a good person like you that I have a goal in life and I want to do something, it just sets your mind. It puts you on my side doing things for me. You're always, it's in your radar. You're going, oh, I know Craig wants to meet, Joe from Dublin, and I'm going over to Dublin next week, and I know that I'm not going to see him, but I'm going to be talking to a couple people, maybe get some intros and make that connection. And it's It just works like that. So I really truly believe that if you tell good people what you want to achieve, you can't stop them and they can't stop themselves from going and helping you. And so that's not the exact same thing as what they talk about in The Secret, but it is part of that law of action attraction. Now, you also have to go and uphold your end of the bargain. You have to do good work. You have to, if you're a salesperson and you're getting introduced to somebody, you darn well better come in and show that person through a great presentation that you are going to add value to them. And otherwise a friend who recommended you is going to say, geez, I just got feedback from that guy, from Joe in Dublin. He said that you had the worst sales pitch and it's almost embarrassing. I mean, I can't recommend you to anybody else. But if you're doing the work, which is what I was doing the work, I was improving, I was learning how to become better, I was studying being a better writer, I was coaching other people, and I was easy for someone to refer me to other people. I made it easy on them. I made them the hero by saying, hey, you got to meet this good guy who's doing good things. It will add value to you, because that's what connections are all about. So I know I focused a lot on connections there in response to that answer, but that really is a big part of success, especially for people listening to this one, in the sales world. Who you know and who you're referred by really still matters.
Well, so I totally agree with everything you just said. I think the law of attraction from some wishy-washy perspective is absolute nonsense. And as I tactically tried to ask those questions then, so I didn't offend you, in case you came out saying that you really loved it and believed in it and you based your life upon it. But the reason I wanted to dive into that a bit deeper is that it is a very common theme with very successful people that I speak to on the podcast and in real life as well. Almost without question, everyone believes that you need a plan, and that things like visualization and tools of that nature, which to the very skeptical me, background as a scientist, chemistry degree, even all my sales jobs have been chemical sales, medical device sales, and things of that nature that have all been very technical. There's too many people now saying and talking about setting a goal, visualizing it, thinking it, writing it down, that I can't ignore it any longer. So I'm going to focus more on this. I'm going to probably get someone on the show to talk about it in more detail as well. And to come off that for a second, going back to this idea of the perfect day. So we have our 3-year plan. We know exactly where we want to be in 3 years. We've nailed it to a T, in that a specific date you're going to have this amount of things or this relationship or whatever it is. You work your way back from then, and so roughly, say to the week, we're at this point now. This week I need to achieve this thing. Now that's one thing to know that you want to achieve something. It's very different when you've got your sales manager asking you for this report. You've got your girlfriend, boyfriend, partner, whatever, mithering you to go out for lunch or do this thing around the house. How do you go about structuring a specific day to achieve all this stuff and to brush off your sales manager's report long enough that you don't get sacked, but long enough that you get your actual job, which is closing deals, you get that done?
Well, here's what I recommend. I think everybody knows what their typical day looks like. Your Thursday might be different from your Monday, but every Thursday is generally the same as every other Thursday. And so everyone should have a general template for their day as to, okay, I know that if I get into the office at 8, I have an hour of preparation time, then I'm going to be on the phones from 9 until noon, then I'm going to have a break, then I'm going to be on the phones again from 1 until 4. Okay, and then I'm going to plan my next day. So that's my general template. Then the night before, 2 hours before, I'm going to focus on putting specifics into my template. From 8 to 8:30, I'm going to come in, I'm going to practice my presentation, then I'm going to be doing, on the phones for 3 hours in that morning. I'm going to make these calls to these people. And then in the afternoon, after a bit of recovery, I'm going to make these calls to these specific people. Then I'm going to wind down. I'm going to review my progress, what I did, where things went right, where things went wrong, and I'm going to adjust that for the next morning. So now you've got a really dialed in specific day, scripted, based on the general template. And if you have that in place, you can come in and implement, okay, these are the goals that I have for this week. I have to make 50 calls. I have to make 10 sales. I know that ratio is going to work out for me. I know that I want to hit my objectives for my boss. but I also want to do this or this on the side, make these extra calls, or I want to do this extra sales presentation, help somebody out, maybe mentor somebody else in the business. And that's how you do it, by knowing exactly what you need to do every day, planning that out the night before, so that when you come in, you can hit the ground running rather than coming in the morning and saying, oh, now it's time to plan out my day. So it's all about being proactive, avoiding being in that reactive mode like so many people are. And that's how you get ahead.
And I want to ask you about something now, Craig, that I've talked about on the show before. No, I've tried everything that the guests have suggested, and I've not found anything that works. And this is to help with procrastination, which of course everyone suffers with occasionally. So I'll get up, 7, 8 o'clock, depending on how late I've been working the night before. And I will struggle to get going till about 9:30, 10 o'clock. But then I do work then till 10, 11 o'clock at night. It's literally sat here doing interviews, editing shows, editing the audio, doing all the marketing, doing all the social media. I work my absolute nuts off. So that's not what I am. That's not what I have a problem with. What I have a problem with is ramping up to that work in the morning, and literally it'll be a case of, because everything gets done. So the physical amount of work is not a problem, and I think this might be the case for a lot of people listening as well. But how do I get going earlier so that I can perhaps get everything done and then finish earlier in the evening and have perhaps the unproductive leisure time that I have in the morning, so I can swap that for the evening? Is there any tips or tricks or hacks to just get your arse in gear and get motivated first thing, rather than having to literally I get up and I have to talk myself into work? And I really enjoy doing it. It's not something that it's a struggle once I'm going. It's just that initial push.
Yeah, so there's a really great book called Switch by Chip and Dan Heath. And in the book, they use the analogy of riding an elephant down a path. And what most problems are when you're riding an elephant down the path is you come up to a tree trunk that's in the way, and now you can't go around it. There's something in the way, and so what you need to do is clear the path. And so a really easy example of this, not related to work, but a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to get up and I'm going to exercise first thing in the morning. Well, you get up and you're tired, and you've got your exercise clothes are still in the drawer, and your shoes are downstairs, and you're like, I'm just going to put on some jeans and go and sit down and just read a little bit, maybe have a coffee, and then I'll get going. And the next thing you know, it's time for you to get to work, because you didn't have the path cleared for success. So the solution for that case is, at the extreme, you put on clean gym clothes and you go to sleep in your gym clothes, and you wake up the next morning and they're on and the shoes are beside the bed, and away you go. So that is clearing the path. Now for you, Will, you are going to sit down at night before you shut down for the day, and you're going to say, okay, here's exactly what I'm going to do. And if I want to have, write up a summary of today's interview with Craig, then I'm going to have an outline of that, just a couple bullet points on here, because the worst thing for somebody to do is go down and sit at a blank, Microsoft Word document. It's very difficult for somebody to jump right into that unless they have a lot of practice writing. So it's even important for me to have a little bit of an outline and know exactly what my number one priority is first thing in the morning, so that as a writer, that's what I do. I go and I cram out 1,500 words as quickly as I can in about 60 minutes, 65 minutes, maybe 90 minutes at the most every morning. And that's how I get ahead in my business, because I've made it easy for me to follow that path by having it almost half done through the preparation. So whatever it is you want to do first thing in the morning, Will, you need to actually prepare it the night before, so that it's easy as possible for you to take action on it. Because quite frankly, the only cure for procrastination is actually action.
And it's one thing to say that, it's another thing to do it, and I appreciate that. But I'm going to try this and experiment of it, because nothing else has worked. And I'm almost at the point where, and I will genuinely try this, and if it works, I'll write up a blog post about it, and maybe get you in for a Q&A to discuss the process and the benefits of it. But I'm almost to the point now where I kind of give up on my mornings and just accept that as my free time. And then the irony is, as soon as I go, oh, I've had my breakfast and watched Game of Thrones. Now I can work. I'm almost battling with myself. It's a weird one. And
Yeah, well, the other thing is you have no consequences. So you have no consequences for not getting work done by 7 o'clock at night.
well, I do
Now,
to a certain extent. And I'm cutting you off here just to put it into further
yeah, that's fine.
context because the audience will appreciate this as well. But we have sponsors on the show. I promise that there'll be a show every day. And I have had sponsors, of course, everyone that we work with, the return on investment is ridiculous on a show, as podcasting as a format is really cheap at the moment to sponsor and work on. So I've had emails from people that have said, "Where's the show? We're panicking. People complaining internally, yada yada." So even though it doesn't really matter, it is a consequence for me because if that happens regularly, you become seen as unreliable within that segment. But carry on, just to give you context as well as you answer that question.
Yeah, that's one consequence, and so but that consequence isn't enough because you just dismissed it as saying it doesn't really matter. So what really matters with a lot of people that I coach is the 2-year-old, the 3-year-old, sitting outside the office door saying, "Daddy or Mommy, when are you coming out of there?" And so a lot of the people that I coach are through this productivity are so happy now that they use my system to get home on time for dinner, to be present with their family. And one of the books that I read last year that I was going to be I actually was very skeptical of it till I read it, was Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg from Facebook. And I thought I wouldn't learn anything from it, but I was very impressed by what she did, which was every night she was home for dinner. Now she worked later on, but she had to be home for dinner for her family because she knew how important that was. If you're home for dinner with your kids, you end up raising well-adjusted children better than that's the best predictor out of almost anything. And so for her, the consequence of working late or, missing dinner was that she was worried about her kids. And so you just have to find, okay, what's the consequence for me, the punishment for me to be working at 8 o'clock at night? What am I missing out on? And if there's nothing seriously that you're missing out on, then it's going to be hard for you to change those habits. And then you may as well just try and adjust your day and be productive after 10 o'clock in the morning and be okay with that and make your morning your leisure time. But I think eventually you'll, through social settings and through getting married and all that sort of stuff, you'll eventually realize, okay, I got to get work done before 5 o'clock at night. I can't be working till 10 o'clock every night. It's just not going to work for me. So it really is a matter of consequences and then just making sure that it's easy as possible for you to get into the zone as early as possible.
I knew you were going to go down that route. That's why I alluded to the lack of consequence from my perspective. Of the biggest consequence I've got, I don't care about. But you obviously picked up on that, which is awesome. And you're right. I think to put it into my 3-year plan, I don't want to be working late in 3 years because I live on my own at the moment. But I'm in a serious relationship, so we'll be moving in together next year, and she just won't put up with it, and she'll kick my ass. So there you go. This conversation is absolutely invaluable for me because that'll be now in the back of my mind, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock every night, and I'll have the guilt even though the situation doesn't exist yet. Again, the law of attraction, I guess.
The only other problem, Will, is the longer you do it, the harder it becomes to get out of it. Think of driving a wagon down a wet, muddy road. That rut gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's harder for you to get out of there. It's like the alcoholic that goes to the bar every night at 5 o'clock for happy hour. So you get deeper and deeper and deeper into that, and then it becomes, an addiction, and it's hard to get out. And so the sooner you can start fighting that, the easier it's going to be when your lady friend says, "Okay, this is it. We're no more 10 o'clock nights." So I encourage you to take on that challenge head on, my friend.
Challenge accepted, and good. Expect a blog post, both Craig and Sales Nation, when hopefully there's some kind of resolution to this. And excellent. With that, Craig, I've got a couple of questions I ask everyone that comes on the show. First one, who is the world's greatest salesperson?
Who is the world's? I guess Steve Jobs was pretty darn close to being the world's greatest salesperson for what he has accomplished and the number of people that use his devices, but not only that, but in the way in which he's helped devices take over the world.
Amazing stuff. Our next one, and I want you to go deeper with this because you've also given us a bit of a tease to perhaps your answer already. And I want you to go deeper than the making my clients more productive or happy or making them more money or whatever the top surface answer would be. But what motivates you to close more deals?
Knowing that somebody is out there sitting in front of their computer at 10 o'clock at night, Googling a phrase that will bring them to me, but with, they're crying themselves to sleep otherwise because, they've had a bad day at work, the boss is a jerk, their spouse is, not supportive, and they have this burning desire to improve, whether it's in my weight loss business or whether it's in my productivity business. They didn't get home on time to put their kids to bed. They didn't get home on time to give their kids a bath. They missed their kids' sports games. And they're missing out on life because they don't have the systems in place to have success.
And Craig, let me just interrupt you there for a second.
Yeah.
Go deeper than that even, of what does it mean for you? Because obviously you're not doing all this for free. You're giving away loads of value, of course. I appreciate that. But there's a payday in there somewhere. What does that mean to you? Does it mean, the obvious answer perhaps for a lot of people is freedom? And from our conversation so far, I know you've thought about this a lot, and I know you'll have some, beliefs perhaps that you're trying to achieve or realize. What's on the deeper level? What does underneath all that? What does the money coming in do or mean for you?
Well, it's not even the money so much. There's a real compulsion for me to help people because I saw, someone close to me suffering from this back in the day of not having the information to succeed in their life. And it drives me nuts when I see somebody who's working so hard, as we mentioned before, and not getting the results that they want. And so when I'm able to do that, when I'm able to add value to the world, then I'm able to make the money that you mentioned. And then for me, when I have that freedom, that independence, that release of stress from my shoulders, I always told people back in 2007 when I became a full-time internet entrepreneur that I had beaten the game. I had won the rat race. And even though I do work a lot, like you, very much as you described it, working your nuts off, I work like that because I want to, because I know that I'm making a difference, and I know that I'm able to do so with that freedom. And so I think freedom is the right word.
Awesome. I enjoy your passion and I enjoy your candid insight to that. And final one from me, if you could go back to and speak to your younger self, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give him to help him become better at sales?
Oh, absolutely. Is get a coach sooner. I mean, I got a coach in 2006. I could have hired one in 2003. I had more than enough money to do it. I was cheap. I was stubborn. I'm part Scottish, by the way, so I blame it on that, But, it was just so foolish. I mean, why would you not go to somebody who's been there, done that, and shares your morals and your ethics and say to them, I will pay you for your advice? Why would you not do that? It's such an easy solution. I know there's a lot of free stuff out there. I know you can get good free education, but it's that accountability, having skin in the game, that really drove me to the next level. So I would just kick myself in the butt and say, go hire a coach right now. This is the one that's going to help you. Go get connected with them, and it'll make a world of difference.
Amazing stuff. With that, Craig, for everyone that you've intrigued with your show so far, tell us a little bit about your book and where we can find out more about you.
Yeah, so I wrote the Perfect Day Formula based on everything that I did to help me get more done, achieve more things, help more people, and have more freedom in life. Put that structure in place so that I was able to live my life and my dreams. And I've done that, and that's why I wanted to share it. And so if they go to perfectdayformula.com, they can see a video that I made where I unbox all of the stuff that actually comes with the book in this Perfect Day Formula kit. So they can get that there. They can get it at Amazon as well. And if they want to get a hold of me, they can find me at twitter.com/Craig Ballantyne. That's the fastest way to get a hold of me. And then they can also read my daily essays at earlytorise.com.
Amazing stuff. With that, Craig, I want to thank you for your time and your insights. I want to thank you for joining us on the Salesman Podcast.
Thank you so much, Will.
And there we have it. Craig, thank you for coming on the show. I massively appreciate it, mate. I appreciate your time and your insights. I want to thank you. As always, I say this every single day, but I do genuinely mean it. I want to thank you, Sales Nation, for tuning in and giving me your attention. And hopefully you're taking away as much from these episodes as what I am. And with all that said, I'll speak with you all again tomorrow.